What was it like just now hearing yourself and your words and seeing what the artists have come up with?
It was emotional. It's interesting because I read those things with Rachel and Dorothy, and it was easy to read them. But I think because of your granddaughter being Margaret, like somehow having that embodiment of Margaret in the dance made it more poignant, I guess. And then and knowing that Margaret was listening. So, but I really, really thought that captured the essence of that time just perfectly.
Nancy has 2 books there from her journals from the past five years.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to read the journals, and those are on caringbridge.com. So any of you that want to go and learn more of the story, it's an amazing journey that Nancy has recorded.
Well, the really cool thing is that some people are here from the Brain Injury Association of Rhode Island, where there's a wonderful support group for family members and people who've had injuries. So it's really nice that they're here. So they could answer lots of questions too about what this is like.
Was there any diagnosis or know how it happened? Was it a genetic thing or just a...
You mean why did she have a stroke?
Yeah.
You know, they haven't been able to
Pinpoint
They don't
anything?
know. I mean, she didn't have any obvious like problems with her heart or problems with anything that would indicate we know why she had the stroke.
Was there a family history of stroke?
Not with anyone who's 22.
Right.
I mean, in other words, like my father died of a stroke, but he was 75, so that really has no connection. And I don't. It isn't that was the reason, but she had taken birth control for more than 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't have any other indicators, like she didn't smoke, she didn't drink, she wasn't overweight. So of course, the drug companies are protected, so they wouldn't say that was the reason. I mean, in other words, the doctors would never say that either. And I'm not saying that is the reason, but there wasn't any conclusive evidence for that.
In your voice in the dance during the dance says that next week she's going for all these tests. Is that really next week?
No, that was actually in the
Okay.
first after she had her stroke for 18 months. She went to New York and had those tests. And then actually she's gone back twice since then. So initially the research that she was part of was with Dr. Schiff at Columbia and Cornell. I was thinking you might have heard of him. Anyway, but and he was doing research about the diagnosis of someone in a persistent vegetative state versus being minimally conscious. And so he found that Margaret was minimally conscious. So then now he's actually expanded his research because he wanted to learn more about people that he then discovered were conscious but yet couldn't communicate. So now they're doing a lot of studies using Margaret as a subject, just to use the EEG to track her brain so that when she thinks about swimming, that's her answer for yes. And so they were able to track both on the fMRI and the EEG that she could answer yes by thinking about moving her right arm. And she did that consistently, so that was another possibility, and you'll hear more about something to do with that maybe from Brain Gate.
Could you tell us what part of her brain was damaged?
Yes, her, I don't know all but it was in her brain stem. So the reason that she actually had 2 places of damage, one in the lower part of the brain stem that controls motor function, and then in a higher, more midbrain area where it controls like the reticular activating system, which makes you be awake. So one of the difficulties is that Margaret is awake, but she can't become awake physically because of that damage. So that's why there was a misdiagnosis, because she was sleeping so much that she never responded to doctors when they asked her to move her eye, even though she could, but they just never caught it at the moment that she could. And they never believed that she could. So then they didn't persist in asking her to do it over time.
And
So.
one last question for me. Are they attempting to train other parts of her, other paths through her brain or anything?
Well, the interesting thing was she has a speech therapist, because since she can communicate by moving her eye, so since she went to New York, she's had a speech therapist consistently for those 3 years. But because physically she can't progress in her physical therapy, Medicaid doesn't pay for physical therapy, and I can't hire a physical therapist at her facility to do that for her because it's not allowed. But her speech therapist, she does move her head regularly, and her speech therapist asks her to move her head, so that's becoming a path that's very regular. So now she can do that on command. I mean, it sounds weird to say that, but that's the judge. You know, she can move her head randomly, that's good. But if you ask her to move her head and she does, then that means there's actually a neural pathway. And that is the only movement that she's been able to do consistently since the time. And so she does get practice doing that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just interested because I wanted to say hello to Margaret. It's interesting because she's here, but we're kind of having a conversation in third person, and
Yes.
so I was interested to know what conversation you had with Margaret before coming here tonight, and how she felt about it, and how ready she is to be here. And,
Yeah. Well, I talked with her about being part of a dance performance that was going to be telling her story, and she's already learned about the research to some extent. So I did ask her if she was interested in learning more, and she did say yes. Now I did ask her, would she want to be lifted up by the dance company in the performance, and she said emphatically no. I just thought I'd ask her, because I thought it might have been interesting, but it wasn't, which I think is very appropriate, because so it's good. I maybe haven't, I don't think that I know everything about her comfort level, but one of the nice things is that she has a computer now, and she can control it with her eye. So there's more complicated questions that we can ask her, but it's still us choosing the question to ask. Now this Monday, I'm trying to think of the sequence. Kate, maybe you remember better. But we were asking her, and she kept going on the screen, and she kept going to something else. So like she had choices, but she kept going to something else, something else, something else. So then we thought, okay, she wanted to talk about something else. What was it? She said, yes, I want to talk about something else. That's pretty specific, so we tried to think about what that might be. And I'm not exactly sure if we really ever knew what the something else was, but we did find out that she was frustrated, but she was happy. Like she wasn't unhappy, and she wasn't angry, but she was frustrated. And it came to us that the actual computer process, that maybe she was saying it's frustrating because it's an imperfect system, because we have to choose the words that she's going to choose. She can't still initiate a conversation without us guessing. Do you know? Like, we can ask her, are you in pain? Maybe she doesn't want to talk about that, but that's just it's the way it is.
Yeah.